I'll say it again. I'm gonna say, who's gonna tell him that Jesus loves him?
Hey y'all, what's going on? So for those of you who do not know who I am Jaren, a voice teacher, speech trainer, and the founder and owner of this studio, the Jaren M. LaGraire Studio. And today we're going to talk about somebody else who I enjoy. I got this request in Instagram a couple weeks ago and I said, oh my gosh, I need to do him because I've always enjoyed how he finesses and sings songs. And he comes from a wonderful family who I am a fan of and comes from a city where many greats were born at. And so it just must be in the water, in the blood, in the something up there, you know, especially in this era. So in this video, we're talking about Pastor Marvin Winans. We all love his voice. He sings so effortlessly. So let's get right into the video, y'all. Here's Pastor Marvin Winans singing Who's Gonna Tell Him?
Who's gonna tell him Jesus loves him? Who's gonna tell him there's a better way?
I love that he tells stories with his voice. He is a preacher, obviously, and so he sings almost like a preacher. Preachers are telling us something, they're communicating, they're conveying something to us when they preach, right? And so I feel like he does such a great job at telling us stories with his voice.
And who's gonna warn them of the things coming on them so God can turn their nights today?
I also enjoy the straight tones he uses, the straight notes he's doing. Turn that eye today. The use of the articulatory muscles is kind of lax. It's not super strong, it's kind of lax and very speech-like, but very warm in a way. And there's some breathiness. Turn that eye today. And it kind of fades out with the breathiness, kind of with the aspiration, the aspirate offsets, if you will. And there's almost a breathiness when he sings. He can get out of the breathiness, obviously, but when he kind of sings like this, there's a breathiness undertone, which I think is part of the magic that is Marvin Winans. And I really enjoy him and his brothers. I remember the Winans. I remember tomorrow I'll give my life, tomorrow I thought about today. I remember that one. Oh my gosh, what's the other one? With Anita Baker. It'll be all over in the morning, Those are my two favorite Winans songs, easily, are those two songs. So I've always enjoyed watching them and listening to them. And so they all kind of tell stories when they sing. All of the family, they do. In their own ways, they really finesse songs so simply and uniquely, but still powerfully, you know?
I'll say it again. I'm gonna say, who's gonna tell him that Jesus loves him?
Love them. It wasn't loves them. So it was love them. Love them. Not loves them. The words are loves them. You know, who's going to tell them that Jesus loves them? But he's very lax. Intentionally. Who's going to tell him that Jesus loves him? You know, whatever he did right there. So it was very lax, very simple. And I love that he makes sure that we hear the words. Because this song, though it's simple in delivery, it's a big message in this song. We want to make sure we hear the words. Who's going to tell them that Jesus loves them? Who's going to tell them that there's a better way? And so if I want to fabricate all this stuff with runs and riffs, people may miss the message of the song. And I love how he never does anything over the top. He just stands and sings and is true to himself and colors and finesses songs so simply yet so powerfully. And it really conveys the message of what he's singing about. And I feel like it's needed for songs like this. Who's gonna tell them that Jesus loves them? I wanna hear what you're singing about. I gotta hear these words for a reason, you know?
Who's gonna tell him there's a better way?
Do you see his articulation? Who's gonna tell him there's a better way? The placement of his articulation is very neutral. It's not really spread, but it's not really warm and pucker. It's really just kind of neutral. There's a better way. And the jaw is even kind of neutral too. It's kind of still here. It's not really there's a better. It's kind of really neutral and still, which helps the simplistic nature of his voice, you know?
Who's gonna warn them
It had a tiny bit of constriction distortion there. It had a little bit. He kind of went a tiny bit churchy, a tiny bit gritty right there. But it was still very simple. Who's gonna tell him? The jaw is still here. The articulation is still very neutral, very kind of speech-like, but almost lax speech-like, which is cool. It gives his voice the color that we all know and love.
The things coming on them.
Things, so the tongue got a little higher back, if you will. Things coming on them. It kind of had an operatic undertone in it a little bit. Thing, you know, thing, but not as operatic. Things. There's a higher tongue, but not, you know, drop layers on that kind of stuff. Just kind of a higher tongue, more forward placement. Things coming on them. That's almost signature of the Winans. I feel like a lot of them have that color that they do. They all play with their color in that way. They round their vowels a little bit. The jaw comes into play. The tongue comes into play. And it really helps just give some different colors, you know, to what they do.
So God can turn their night today. Somebody's gotta warn them. Somebody's gotta tell them.
Somebody's gotta warn them, not somebody's gotta warn them. The articulation is a little more bigger here, but it's not super big. It's a little bit more intensified in this part because the song has intensified a little bit, but it's still very simple in context.
Would you help me say somebody?
Somebody's gotta warn them.
Oh, yeah, somebody gotta tell them.
Somebody's gotta tell them.
So I want to ask you, wherever you are, who's gonna tell them?
Who's gonna tell them?
Jesus.
That G has some jaw. Jesus. It has some jaw in there, it has some tongue in there. Jesus love. Right there. It has some more color, kind of brought it more forward, more longer too, you know?
Who's gonna tell them?
Who's gonna tell him? Now we're rounding the lip side a little bit. Who's gonna tell him? With that higher tongue slightly and that jaw being dropped a little bit. Who's gonna tell him?
There's a better way. Who's gonna warn them of the things coming on them? So God can turn their night today. Who's gonna tell them? Say,
Who's gonna tell them?
Jesus loves them. Who's gonna tell them? There's a better way. Who's gonna warn them of the things so God can turn?
So God can, so God can, so God can, so God can. So there's some puckering, some dropping of the jaw, and some straight notes in there with some weight, little crackle, a little weight there, in there.
Somebody's gotta warn them. Somebody's gotta tell them. Say with me, somebody gotta warn them.
There's almost a forwardness to even that S and even some of his consonants. Sh, not sa, sh, sh. So that puckering of the lips and kind of some maneuvering articulatory wise makes the S almost frontal versus just S. It kind of makes the S kind of have a frontal, more brassy sound, you know?
Somebody's gotta warn them.
Somebody gotta tell them.
Somebody's gotta tell them.
So I need some volunteers to raise your hand, raise your heart and say, I'm gonna tell them.
I'm gonna tell them.
That Jesus loves them. I'm gonna tell them. There's a better way.
I want to say kudos to the music and background singers. They're being very meticulous and purposeful in how they're shaping the words of this song. I know better way, not better way, better way. Who's gonna tell them instead of tell them? Who's gonna tell them? Jesus loves him instead of loves them, you know? So they're really being meticulous and really underemphasizing some syllables and overemphasizing others, which is very intentional.
Oh, God can turn their lives. Tell them, I'm gonna tell them.
I'm gonna tell them.
Jesus
Jesus loves them.
It might be in the school. It might be
constriction, some squall in there. He's getting some constriction, some weight. He's really building the song up right here, you know?
So God can turn. One more time.
Hey, Pastor Donnie.
Jesus loves him. Jesus loves him. I'm gonna tell them. I'm gonna tell them. There's a better way. I'm gonna warn them of the things coming on them. So God can turn their life. Somebody living in darkness right now.
I love that. Somebody's living in darkness right now. So there is a tongue. Once again, that tongue is placed differently. There is a lax in the articulation, but it gives to the simplicity and the smoothness of his voice.
Somebody living in darkness right now.
So he's really singing through the M consonant. You can sing through voiced consonants, most of them. Some, because that's a voiced consonant and the lips are closed. You can some sing to the M nasal consonant. Somebody's living in darkness right now. I messed it up, but you know what I mean.
Somebody needs the love of Jesus right now. Somebody needs encouragement. Somebody needs encouragement right now.
I love right now, not right now. Somebody needs encouragement right now, instead of right now, right now. So it's nah, not now. We know he's saying now, because our brains have contextual clues where we can decipher this stuff. But how he literally said it was nah, okay?
They're waiting on you, they're waiting on me, they're waiting on the turn. Oh, na 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 na. I hope you will tell somebody. I hope you will tell somebody. Turn their night today.
If you enjoyed this analysis, click subscribe down below, then click the alert button next to it so you know when the next video is posted. And as I always say, be vocally bold, creative, and aware, but most of all, be vocally you. All right, y'all. I'll see y'all soon.